Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm writing to Sir, is there any shortcut to self-knowledge? Acharya 2024. I thought this was a pretty interesting one because shortcut to self-knowledge. I'd say yes, although it's gonna kind of sound weird. And what the shortcut would be is the shortest route. Because technically that's the shortcut, right? There are many routes to a path, and a shortcut would be well, I guess technically it'd be I don't know. Is shortcut defined by the shortest route, or is a shortcut defined by the shortest route but cut in half? Hold on, I'm gonna hold on. Be right back. Okay, so I did look it up. Think of me as a fool if you want, but I looked up what's the definition of a shortcut, but then I also went ahead and said, would a shortcut be considered to be the shortest path? All right. Would the shortest path be considered a shortcut? According to Google AI, yes, the shortest path would absolutely be considered a shortcut. So technically, there is a shortcut, and that's the shortest path, which usually, at least in terms of Advaita Vedanta, is Bhakti Yoga. What do you call it? Essentially, duality in terms of believing in a God. But again, I'm kind of curious as to self-knowledge. That means yes, unless all the paths are the same length, the shortest path would be the shortcut. But anyways, I would be curious what he has to say about this. Amazingly enough, whenever I copied the the title here to search for the thumbnail, it has Google's search had according to Acharya Prashant. I'm like, oh wow. It went directly to his video. Oh, because I guess I did have Acharya Prashant in the search. Never mind. Anyways, let's go get started.
Prashant, I think thanks for the lecture today. So my question is around, you mentioned there is one to be worshipped, and the process of self-improvement is a very iterative process. So again, I'm having my current version, examining, evaluating my current version, and that isn't perfect, clearly. And so this seems like a very inefficient process. It seems like an illuminator model. There's a illuminated person or version of me that is examining myself, my worst version, and then I get a little bit better, and then that feedback keeps happening. But I like shortcuts. I think maybe there's a shortcut to get to a more efficient process here, because I can take 40 years of my life and then keep getting incrementally better. And I can read
Hmm.
Mahatma Gandhi, I can read other, uh, people who have made important contributions that can maybe, give me a little bit of acceleration. But I don't know. I think I'm just not satisfied with this uh, process.
Okay, I'll try to answer his question. Let's just see if I come close to what Acharya will say. um, is there a shortcut? Yes, absolutely. It's called reading the books, reading the scriptures and everything, and doing what you're doing right now. The short essentially I'm going based on the, like I said a little bit earlier, about the shortest path is technically a shortcut. So if you want to essentially it's technically accelerating your path, because what you're doing is you're learning as much as possible as quickly as possible. So normally it takes let's just say for example 1 year to read a book under normal circumstances, because people will read say 10 pages or a chapter a day. But if you read 15 chapters a day, you're creating, this is the path to your success of 1 year. Now you cut that in say in half, or by uh, not 15%, but like a large amount. Don't know what the math on that one is, but just a large amount that it's no longer taking a year, but a significantly shorter time. So technically, that is a shorter route in terms of time. So yes, is there a shortcut? I do believe so, based on the definition there, that you can accelerate your learning, and it's technically you're getting there quicker, which is technically a shorter path or a shorter time frame, just shorter in general. Um, that iteration is something that I don't believe there's a way to accelerate that, because if you know there's something wrong, that's like he was saying, self illumination. That's the only way to know if there's something wrong that someone can point out to you. Then that's another way of iterating yourself in terms of fixing. Reading the books, reading the scriptures, you can learn all of that. That could help you, and then self iteration, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, but essentially correcting the mistakes of iteration by discovering them.
So you see, I want this. This is me. Layer after layer of the self. This is me. And I want this well pressed, neatly ironed, without any creases, wrinkles, flat surfaced. So I said there is just one way. Keep looking at yourself and improve. And you said that's very long drawn and iterative, and therefore,
And also not trustworthy, because I think it's me looking at you.
okay. The question then is, what else can be trusted? Because whatever other factors that you say are trustworthy, you are still the one trusting them.
Wow. Well, I was going to say, that's an interesting one. I was going to say, well, you have to make sure that they're telling the truth. So, and I never thought about them, you trust them to tell you the truth. That's a very interesting one. Yeah. That's kind of funny. It's like, well, I can't trust myself. It's like, well, no, not necessarily. You can, in a sense, trust yourself. Again, this is under the stipulation that you are genuinely trying to be good. You're genuinely trying to be a good person, trying to do good things. Then you can trust yourself for the most part, because who else are you going to trust? But you would be generally speaking, we are all our own hardest critic. We judge our actions very much harshly, for the most part. I don't judge my actions very harshly anymore. I'd be like, that's fine. Yeah, I made a mistake maybe. I give it 110%, don't get me wrong. I always do my best, and I'll do it right. But if I make a mistake, then I make a mistake. It's not. I didn't intend to make a mistake. I didn't intend to do anything for it to go wrong. I genuinely try to do it. So again, this is under the assumption that you're genuinely trying to do good, genuinely trying to be a better person. Then you are the better judge of character, and also the harshest critic, generally speaking.
And now it's a roundabout thing. You are trusting someone because you think you are untrustworthy, but the one now being delegated the responsibility has earned your own trust. So how then trustworthy is that person? So you have no option but to use your own trust. So that's something we can.
Real quick to go with that, if you don't trust yourself, then how can you trust yourself to trust someone? It's another way of putting that, I would say. I thought he was going to go that route. But yeah, if you say, I can't trust myself, but I can trust you to tell me the truth. Well, if you can't trust yourself, well, how can you trust someone else when you're the one that's putting that trust? You are trusting that your trust on that person is trustworthy.
Now
A lot
this
of
is
trust in that one.
the whole mass of myself. I said, look at yourself and improve. Right? And you said it takes too long. Yes, it can take too long. How does it take too long? We'll try to see. So I look at this and I say, oh, why is this thing bulging up from here? Let me do something about it. So probably there is something wrong with this piece here. It's bulging. So I'll push this piece this side. I push this piece. So I have observed myself. I did find something wrong. And I came up with a solution, a response. And the response was, oh, shift it this way. Pass the crease, you could say. Something was wrong here. So I made some superficial arrangement by looking at myself. And this will take very, very long because now this part is showing a bulge. So next time I look at myself, I'll say, oh, there is something wrong here. I need to do something about this. So I another way of looking at myself is, and both of these ways involve the same thing, looking at yourself. The question is, how do you look at yourself?
Yeah.
Now there is this another way of looking at yourself. I look at myself and I say there is something wrong here. Can I get to the root of it? Okay. Oh, there is something even more wrong here. The bulge is far more apparent now. Can I be merciless enough, ruthless enough to peel off even this layer and expose the real culprit within? And then and then I come to this. I could either look at myself this way and say, as long as this is here, things would never be flattened. So what do I do then? Come on. Now everything is fine. See? Smooth. Huh? Where did this immediate transformation or dissolution come from? It came from looking at myself. Equally, I could look at myself and keep deceiving myself for 40 years. So the fault does not lie with the process. The fault lies in the intention. When you find something wrong within, do you want to give it a superficial treatment? Or do you want to peel the layers and get at the root of it?
I thought he would have went with the approach. Like whenever he said that question, to me it came along the lines of not fixing the issue, like trouble fixing the issue. It's more along the lines that, oh, there's a problem here. I'll iron it out. Fixed. Oh, there's a problem here. I'll iron that out. Fix. Oh, there's a problem here. I'll iron that out. Fix. And in terms of the layers, what I see, translate his question into those layers. Oh, first layer. Oh, there's a problem here. Okay, first layer fixed. Good. Next layer. Problem here. And problem. Oh, sorry. Problem here. And problem here. Next layer. This one's a little bit more difficult. I know there's a problem somewhere around here, but I'm gonna have to ponder on this one for a few days. Oh, right here. There's still something wrong here. A few more days go by. Right here. And then, still something's still not quite right. A few more days go by. Oh, right here. Now everything looks good. Next layer. So essentially that he is fixing the problems is I think what he's trying to say, at least from how I'm understanding it, it's like he's fixing the problems, getting better and better and better and better. These problems are not like I temporarily fix them and then they come back. It's more like I fixed the problem, but I don't know how to discover the other problems that I have so I can fix them all at once. Or interestingly enough, he went the route of temporary fixes, which is actually, again, another valid route, but that's not how I understood his question. So I'm sure there are people out there who's like, well, I fixed the issue, but somehow I keep having the same issues over and over again. It's like, I always get mad at people, but then I think, I'll meditate on it. I'll meditate and fix that issue. And then I go out in the world, and all of a sudden I just get mad at them again. It's like, man, I thought I fixed that issue. Let me go back and meditate on that. And the next day, it's like, oh my God, they're just ticking me off again. Like I keep trying to fix this issue, it keeps coming back. That's the way I see how explaining that's the problem. It's like, let me fix that there. It's like, I'll fix that there. Where they're trying to meditate the anger issue in a sense out, but they're not fixing the actual core of the issue, which is what he's trying to explain there. Where you go to the under layer to find out what the real issue is, where whatever's triggering that person would be the root of the issue, because the meditation part doesn't seem to be helping, or at least he's not doing it in the correct fashion. Perhaps there's something else going on, and he obviously probably needs to seek a guru out and help him, work out that anger issue. And this one, no, let's continue.
And at the root you find this is called the ego tendency. So when you find something within, get to the root of it. Otherwise, you will keep making some kind of tertiary adjustment. And not that it is just very long winded, it can be infinitely unproductive. You can keep making superficial shifts without really reaching anywhere.
You can ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
So,
Hold on. You can ask, or just say, can I ask a follow-up question? Acharya, you can ask a follow-up question. Hold on.
you can ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
So,
Oh, oh.
I think in theory, this makes a lot of sense that we identify the root problems. In practice, what this would mean is I expose myself to good thinkers who've thought, more about the world, about themselves, and also I think get involved in causes that are bigger than me. Be able to teach and express myself a little bit better. All good things. But how does that interplay?
Okay, real quick. Actually, Acharya answered the root of the question by saying the ego. Again, I don't think Acharya explained it very well to the person. But I completely understand because the ego is essentially I won't say the root of all problems, but probably. I haven't, again, I don't know that for absolute certainty. But if you have an ego, it does cause a lot of problems. Is it all of the problems in the world? Maybe. I don't know. But it is a large portion of the problems. So, Acharya did answer him, but I'm guessing he's relatively new, so he did understand that the ego is kind of like a lot of the problems. And again, Acharya, I guess, maybe assumed that he knew about the ego because, again, if you watch his videos, he does have certain videos where he does talk about the ego.
You don't have to get into all those things. No, you don't have to get into new things to know yourself. You don't have to.
So what he's going about is like, I guess what he's trying to say to Acharya here is that he's just trying to expose himself so he can find these flaws, so he can fix them, to find the root of the problem. But yeah, Acharya's saying, Acharya's, again, he said the ego, which is looking inwards.
What is happening within? There has to be an honest resolution to know. You are already doing much. You don't need to do something additional. You have 24 hours, as many as anybody else has. Nobody has even a minute more in his day. And all those minutes are occupied with activity. All the activities arising from this center will be carrying the imprints of this. Watching them is sufficient. You don't need to undertake something new.
Watch it.
If there is a problem somewhere, the problem, I'm talking of the internal domain, would never be localized. If there is a problem, it would be present in everything that you do, because it is there in every bit that you are. If it's there in every bit that you are, it will be there in everything that you do. So it should be possible to watch it continuously. It should be possible to watch the play of this in everything and every time. You don't need to get into newer activities. Even in the existing activities, you should be seeing the imprints of this. And when you see that, it should make you uneasy. Rather, it should reveal that you are uneasy.
So this is totally true, and this does happen, but it's a slow, winded process. I think, and that's what is.
Yeah, no. I guess I was
It cannot be slow. In fact, it is the fastest one. It's the Ramana
shortcut.
Maharshi used to call this as the straight line method. Huh? See and be free. The problem is not that it takes time. The problem is in the intensity of the desire. Hmm? You must want to be continuously free. You must be able to see that it is happening. It is still happening. It is still happening. It is still happening.
I do wonder sometimes. I know a lot of people, like when they speak to someone they see as great or well, great, they tend to get nervous, and they just tend to agree sometimes because they don't want to look like an idiot or don't want to look bad on people who they look up to. So sometimes they just tend to agree. It's like, yes, I understand. I know I've done that, but I have become mostly less of that and more of an idiot, looking like an idiot. Because I'll ask questions because I want to know. I mean, I'd rather know than look like an idiot than someone who claims to know and is an idiot. But yeah, and again, I don't blame the guy because I'm sure I wouldn't doubt he's nervous and he doesn't want to look bad. He's on display for the world to see. So a lot of people will agree just because they see someone great, they don't want to look like an idiot in front of their idol, and they also don't want to look like an idiot in front of the world.
And I'm not liking it. But it is still happening. And it is happening because there is this thing behind it, and then there is this thing behind it. One has to have the stamina to be always at war.
Mm.
And that stamina comes from love. That stamina comes from a certain insistence.
Mm.
I like it, I don't want to give up. I like it so much, I just cannot give up. Love. So this appetite for being at war with oneself must be there. One must continuously be engaged within. Engaged in the sense of being present, being watchful. I know what's going on. And it's again that same dirty story unfolding. I can see that. And it won't happen. Because I can see that. Hmm?
So I'm wondering if he's, again, truly understanding. My assumption here is what Acharya is saying, but essentially because there is the ego, there's your true self. And your true self is able to essentially observe the ego. Even though how I see it is that essentially it's kind of it seems contradictory, but at the same time, not really. Maybe it would seem contradictory. I wouldn't doubt it. Like if you hard look at Advaita Vedanta, it probably would be, and that's what it's saying. But in a sense, you are the ego because the ego is kind of what develops in the lifetime that you are, and your true self is just an observer. It does not feel anything, but at the same time, you can have that backwards perspective, the back perspective of the ego, in a sense, where you're able to see that the ego is feeling hurt or feeling angry or feeling jealous or feeling attached to something. At least that's the way I can kind of see it. However you want to interpret that, it's just the sheer fact that I think that's what he's trying to tell him, is the fact that you can observe your actions, you can observe your thoughts, you can observe, which is essentially the ego, the actions, the thoughts, everything that's done in the body. Um, and I know, again, like I said, what I said a little bit earlier can seem contradictory, but I don't know how else to explain it. I don't really have a good way to explain that. But anyways, let's just go about it. So essentially, that your true self doesn't take these actions, and that you should, as your true self, should be able to observe the actions of the ego. The ego has attachment to things. That has attachment to the body. Has attachment to all the actions that you have, your thoughts included in that one. And you need to be able to be observant of that and then be aware of it and to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Again, but the problem is the true self does not take action. That's the reason why I say you're kind of the ego, because the ego is the one that takes action. And if you refuse an action, then you're taking action, which the true self cannot do. Because it does no actions. It has no memory. It's just pure awareness. That's all it is. Again, I'm speaking from a true Advaita Vedantin, that your true self does no actions, has no memories, has nothing. It's just pure awareness. Whereas the ego is action, thoughts, and all of those things. That's kind of the reason why I say you're kind of you're kind of the ego, because you still make decisions, and in order to have that backwards perspective, you have to see what the ego's doing in a third person perspective, and to realize that you should or should not do those things, or you should realize that the ego's attached to that. That's the reason why you're getting upset. It's a bit complicated. Let me know. Hey, let me know what your thoughts on that is. It's a little hard to explain. It seems contradictory. I understand your true self is Atman Brahman, pure consciousness, and pure consciousness again takes no action, has no karma. It's pure awareness. That's all it is. It can't memorize anything. It can't tell you to do anything. It's just the only thing it does is make you aware. Whereas the ego is the one that can take action. So if you're taking action by making decisions, is that pure consciousness? No, because pure consciousness cannot take action. If I'm correct on that aspect at the least, the pure consciousness part. So anyways, let's continue.
Yeah, super helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Pranam Acharya.
I hope he understood that. Again, can't blame the guy, you know. I wouldn't doubt all of them look up to Acharya Prashant, and they have, like, again, I can relate to that for sure, where it's not necessarily a famous person, just someone that you look up to in general. You could even be your father or your mother, or a classmate, or someone that's older or younger than you. I highly doubt the younger part, but generally speaking, they tend to be older because they tend to be wiser. So, you tend to just don't want to look like an idiot. So you just, yes, I gotcha.
Ji.
So my question is, Krishna is asking Arjun to not mourn for their own relatives, and we have seen that it's easy to recognize the pain of someone we are associated with, but when we also take cognition of the pain in others, for example, the animals or the species going extinct, that cognition is also happening in my own mind. So my question is it attachment or is it moving towards a Paramarth? How to know? Because both of them are originating in my own mind.
Your first attachment is to your body. Your first attachment is to your body. You don't mind if I take away your shirt, but you mind if I take away your arm.
Okay.
If I say, I'll give you 1 trillion rupees, just die, you'll say, what will I do with those 1 trillion rupees if I am not there anymore? So even if you are to have 1 trillion rupees or dollars, you want the body more.
Okay.
I quote you any number and say, give me the body. Will you give me the body?
No.
I'm thinking of scientific, I'll say, are we living in the future? I can transfer my consciousness to a robot body. Then you can have the body, and but this goes back to a game called Soma. But Again, they say conscious, and the Western word of consciousness, not Advaita Vedanta consciousness. So it's essentially the ego. Can you transfer my ego to that robot body? Would you please? Then you can have the body whenever I have infinite number of money. I could keep preparing this body and live forever. With infinite money, oh yeah, I will live a good life. A very long, good life. But again, that's thinking a little bit too outside the box. But to the point that it's trying to make, absolutely. Because what's the point of having something if you can't enjoy it? I was still going to make that original point. You can have all the money in the world, but if you have no way of doing something with what you traded with, then there's no point in having it.
No. The simple logic would be, what will I do with that amount if the body is no more there?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Right.
So the body is the first attachment. And because the body is the first attachment, therefore those who are related to the body are very close attachments. That's why the very inexorable attachment of mother to the baby and the baby to the mother, body and body. The baby does not know that it was in the womb for long, but it knows that without the mother's body, it will not get its feed. So the baby is tremendously attached to the mother. And the mother, she knows the baby was there in the womb for so many months. The mother too is tremendously attached to the baby. It's fundamentally body identification. Therefore, when you are associated with those who are your blood relatives, body relatives, that's attachment. But if you can work for those you do not have any bodily relationship with, that's less likely to result in attachment.
Okay.
But you can develop attachment because as you work with them, you generally develop a relationship. I do wonder if Acharya here will maybe address that, because yeah, obviously when you first get into a job, you don't know anyone, so there's no attachment anywhere. But when you start becoming friends with someone, and then you start hanging out outside the job, you have a really good relationship with them. Some of them you might marry, some one of them you might marry, not some of them. If some of them you marry, that means you have to divorce some of them. So, and one of them you might marry, and others should become your great friends that you have throughout the entirety of your life. So it becomes attachment there. I do wonder if you'll address that.
Not that you cannot be selflessly compassionate towards your mother. That is possible. Not that the mother cannot be selflessly compassionate towards the kid. The mother can have great loving detachment towards the kid, and it's a beautiful thing. It's possible, but it's rare. It's easier to be detached towards those who are physically distant. It's more difficult to be detached towards your own baby. And that's why there is so much toxicity in relationships. Because the relationship has started at the physical level. And physicality itself is the mother bondage.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I have to go listen to that dude's question again because hold on. Did he answer the question? I mean, I get it. Hold on.
The mother's body
Oh.
attachment. Therefore, but you mind if I take away your arm?
So my question is, Krishna is asking Arjun to not mourn for their own relatives. And we have seen that it's easy to recognize the pain of someone we are associated with, but when we also take cognition of the pain in others, for example, the animals or the species going extinct, that cognition is also happening in my own mind. So my question is it attachment or is it moving towards a parmarth? How to know?
I don't understand that word, so maybe that's moving towards Parmat? Attachment or Parmat? I do understand Acharya's statement that he made, but I'm not sure about the second part because I don't know that word. May have heard it. It seems like it's a shortened version of a word that I've heard before, but I'm not sure. So, anyways, I'm going to end it right there because I've said a lot already. Whoa, yeah, almost double the time. Anyways, so that's my reaction to Sir. Is there any shortcut to self-knowledge? Obviously, there is. I was right. Hey, I thought it was Google got it wrong on the web website. It said Acharya said no, but no, Acharya did say yes. There is a shortcut to it, and it's looking directly at essentially your true self, your true nature. So anyways, if you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.